Over the past couple of months, I've kind of this dips into my personal life a little bit, but I've always been a worrier. I've always worried about things for I don't know why. It's my nature, and the past few months, I've really tried to set that aside and just have more faith that things are gonna work out in life, and that journey, I guess, has kind of brought me back to this is what I want to do. I want to be a writer, and if you're not writing, you're not a writer. So it's just I don't know. It's just something that I've decided I do like it. I enjoy it, and I'm always amazed at the stuff that comes out of my head. I swear it's somebody else, but it's not. And so yeah, I decided I want to get back into it.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, onto the show with your host, Ella Barnard.
Hey bosses, if you have an author website or are thinking about getting one, I have a special offer for you. Stacy Sowers of Authors Mojo builds websites, is a technology coach for indie authors, and is my co-author for the book Build Your Author Website. She's also an indie author herself, which makes this so exciting. For listeners of this podcast, Stacy is offering a free author website consultation. If you already have a website and want some feedback for improving it, she'll do a comprehensive evaluation of your site. If you don't yet have a website, but are thinking about taking that next step, she'll walk you through what you need to know to have a beautiful and effective author website. To take advantage of this offer and get a free author website consultation, go to authorlikeaboss.com/mojo. Hey bosses! Hey everybody, we are here today with Ron Schrader. So let me tell you a little bit about Ron. Ron Schrader began his journey as an author and publisher in 2013 when he helped an uncle self-publish. Since that time, Ron's work life has been split between writing, publishing, and various business pursuits. To date, he's been involved with the publishing of over 20 books, a handful of which have gone on to become bestsellers in their respective categories. In late 2018, he started an author marketing service called App for Authors, with the goal of helping authors create and use mobile apps for book promotion. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Hey, thanks for having me, and I look forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, me too. You guys don't know, but this is our second. I had technical difficulties. This is our second effort. Okay. Okay, Ron, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your author journey?
Yeah, so it kind of all began around 2013 or in 2013. I had my whole life growing up, I'd been writing a little bit, kind of off and on, but I never took it seriously. I actually, my own personal belief, I think that the school system kind of stripped me of some of my desire to write. You get doing that because you have to and you don't want to anymore. So I didn't really do a lot of writing, even though I think I was kind of good at it back then. But in 2013, I got talking with an uncle of mine who he had been trying the old-fashioned way to get published, so sending out query letters, and had a stack of rejections. And a few years prior to that, did get picked up by a small company, but they quickly went out of business. So we got to talking one day, and I said, you know what? I see that there's some things happening in the self-publishing world. Let's do it, and I want a cut of your royalties. Let's get you published and start doing this. So that's kind of where it began. And it's been kind of just a ride from there ever since.
Okay, so now I'm curious. Are you writing now too?
I am. I've actually I took a little bit of a break this last year for a lot of reasons. But in fact, this past week, I've really jumped back in and started working on a series that I'd love to get more out on. So
what are you writing?
The current one, it's kind of a twist on a zombie apocalypse sort of story.
Wait, okay. Twist on?
Yeah, I don't ever do anything. So I started a science fiction. My first book was a sci-fi, kind of a space epic type storyline, and it had to do with the concept of vampires, only they weren't vampires. They were my own I guess, interpretation. And so I've kind of done the same thing with this zombie story. They're not going to be your typical, what we're all familiar with.
Fun. And so, out of curiosity, what has had you going this last week?
Over the past couple of months, I've kind of, this dips into my personal life a little bit, but I've always been a worrier. I've always worried about things I don't know why. It's my nature. And the past few months, I've really tried to set that aside and just have more faith that things are going to work out in life. And that journey, I guess, has kind of brought me back to, this is what I want to do. I want to be a writer. And if you're not writing, you're not a writer. So it's just, I don't know. It's just something that I've decided I do like it. I enjoy it. And I'm always amazed at the stuff that comes out of my head. I swear it's somebody else, but it's not. And so, yeah, I decided I want to get back into it.
That's amazing. I'm really glad that you shared that. And that's the kind of stuff that I love because I think it's something everybody has. Like everybody has that worry that, that it's not going to work out. I have it. And in fact, this last year, I came up with a phrase that I was like, that I use when I make choices just day to day. And it's faith or fear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so when I have this choice of what to do today. Do I want to make the choice, which one is faith to do this thing, or which one is fear? And you can tell inside which one. You're like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm scared that the other thing's not going to work. Or I'm doing this because I have faith and that it will work out. And that's a scary thing.
Well, and what's funny about that too is that, like, I look back on my life, and I'm sure most people can do this. You look back, and I guess really when it boils down to it, if you're here today, you can look back on your life and say, hey, things worked out because I got here. So, it's like, do I want to go through that process just being stressed out and worrying all the time? Or do I want to just know that things are going to go how they're going to go, and I might as well enjoy the ride? And so I'm trying really hard to do that more.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And does it seem to you that it gets easier as you get older? You're like, I'm still here.
Yeah, and I think your experiences help shape who you are, and so it becomes easier to accept the bumps in the road, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, because you're like, well, for me, I'm like, there's been some things that have happened. Like, there's been some crap that's happened, but I'm still okay. So I guess that means, then when you start thinking about, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if I choose faith? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I choose to write this book?
Right.
And enjoy it. The worst thing that happens is that you write a book. It's like not the worst. It's not that bad a thing. You've dealt with plenty of worse things. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I love that. This is like my kind of conversation that I'm like, I love this. Cause it's really about the mindset, which is the thing that everybody really struggles with. It's not the writing. It's not the marketing. It's the mindset around it. That's the biggest struggle.
I agree.
Yeah. So
100%. Yeah.
I know, right? So tell me, I also want to acknowledge in that bit that you were saying is that, and can you tell me a little bit about trying to write while you're worried?
Well, so I think because of that, my writing has always been sporadic. Like I think I'm good at getting into, like, you get into that groove when you're in the middle of a project, and you can run with it. But then you get done, and I don't know, you have expectations of how things play out from there. And when it doesn't go exactly as planned, then it's easy to just start, questioning, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? And, but at the end of the day, I've kind of determined maybe I never will be a really successful author, but I enjoy telling the stories, and I enjoy that process, I guess. And if it ends up being just for me, I'm okay with that. So,
amen. So
and that takes a lot of stress off of you too when you look at it that way.
Yeah. I think that creativity and stress and worry, like creativity is on like one side and stress and worry on the other, and it's very hard to be creative when you're stressed and worried.
Yeah, it is.
They don't really overlap very well. It's very hard to be creative. I think it's still possible, but it's hard. So now that you're writing again, can you tell us a little bit about your writing process and writing routine? How do you make time to write?
So that varies. It varies a lot for me day to day. Because I do have other work that I'm doing during the day. I'm involved in some other businesses and the stuff to pay the bills. And so the process, it's kind of, I do it when I get to it. But when I start it, I always try and say, okay, it's 9:00 in the morning. I've decided I'm going to write for an hour, and I stick to that. And I try really hard to push off the distractions. And then as far as the actual process goes, I've rubbed shoulders with a lot of other authors out there and gotten to hear different methods that other people do and recommendations and whatever. I cannot for the life of me lay everything out and organize it and write the story that way. My process has always been sitting down at the keyboard and I just start typing. And it's almost as if I'm a conduit for something that already exists. That's how it feels sometimes. And it blows me away. Like I said, some of the stuff that comes out of my head mm-hmm. and how plot lines come together and how endings appear. And it really is fascinating to me. And maybe that's part of the reason that I do like it, that it's a process I enjoy, because for me, it's, I guess, 100% a creative process. Yeah. Yeah. So
like you're finding it out while everybody else, like, that's so curious.
I've probably had more experiences, but I had one specific experience when I was writing my first book. There was a part where a new character had recently been introduced, and he seemed like a cool character, somebody that I'd like to see more of. And he got himself into a predicament where everything I could see, he was going to get killed. Uh-huh. And I got it from the keyboard and started getting all mad and walked away because I didn't know what was going to happen. And it was just frustrating. And so it's almost like I'm watching this movie as it's being created in a sense. And fortunately, at least at that time, that character, miraculously, there was a way provided and he made it out of that situation. But it was interesting that it actually made me mad that he was about to die.
I love it. You're like, dang it, I can't do this right now. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, and every writer, I'm sure everybody is going to say the same thing that you get attached to different characters, and it's sad when some of them have to go. So
yeah, I was working on my first short. Like I was working. Okay, I wanted to be a writer for a while, but I was always the analytical one in the family, not the creative one in the family. And even now, my sister's like making this beautiful. She's like, I got these pens, and she's like, I just doodling around, and she's doodling, and they look like pieces of artwork that you could hang on your wall. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. You're a different kind of creative. Like I am not your kind of creative. I'm not like, it just happens. But in regards to, I was writing this story. It's my first complete short story, and I had somebody read through it, and there's one character, she's like, you're gonna kill this guy, aren't you? And I'm like, no, you're the one who likes to kill your characters. I like my characters. I don't want to kill them. She loves killing characters. So I'm saving it for the right character.
Right.
The one based off my old boss,
Well, and you know what? For you, I think there's pros and cons to both ways, because sometimes I feel like if I did outline more, maybe I would have more control. But I guess there's give and take there,
Well, yeah, but I don't like to judge anybody's process for writing. I think there's a lot of different ways, and whatever way
Absolutely.
gets your story out is the one that is right for you.
Right. Yep.
So
I agree.
that's that. I'm like, get the story out. I don't care how we get it out. That's no big deal. So you're saying that you're doing other things, like writing isn't your full-time work. You're doing other things as well. So what are some of the other things that you're working on?
So I've actually done run a web design business for several years that brings in a little bit, and so I do that on the side. I do some graphic design for another friend of mine who has a business, and so I guess everything that I do really hangs kind of in that creative side of things. But and of course I've had other little business ideas. Some of them have done okay, and others, lots of ideas that get thrown out after a while.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you're an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs, although I wish the word was easier to say and spell. How do you think being an entrepreneur has helped with you and being a writer and being a business owner as a writer? You know what I mean? Because when you're writing and selling books online, you are at that point a business owner.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You're running a business, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It probably, again, there's probably two sides of it. It probably helps you in some ways and hurts you in others. I guess for me, I have had the opportunity to work from home for a number of years now. And so, the one thing you hear from anybody who is working in an office and maybe considering working from home is, oh, I'm afraid I'm not going to manage my time well or whatever. And so I've gotten good enough at that. I'm definitely not perfect at it, but I've gotten good enough at it that I think that helps me. I'm able to, when I'm at work, and I try to get things done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And with regards to marketing, can you tell us a little bit about marketing your stories and your uncle's stories?
Yeah. So before I started working with my uncle, I had actually been kind of dabbling in online marketing, the stuff that was going on with Facebook. I was around back in the day when there was fan gating. I don't know if you're familiar with that term on Facebook pages.
Wow.
So like a long time ago when you had to like a page to get the content kind of stuff. And I remember the day that went away and everybody was up in arms saying this is the end of social media. And yeah, here we are.
It's still here.
Life goes on. So I've had a fair amount of experience with running Facebook advertising campaigns and stuff like that. And for my uncle, I think we had a mixture of, I'll call it a lot of luck and a little bit of skill, where in a short time, probably about a year or so into working with him, we grew a Facebook page up to about 30,000 followers.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. And because of that, we have seen some success with him. And I look back on all of that and I'm like, why weren't you doing that for yourself, Ron? Because I wasn't. I was putting so much of my time and focus on him. And hindsight's 50-50, right? And you can't change it.
I think.
Or 2020 or what, yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
Maybe your hindsight is 50-50, Ron.
2020. Because that's the vision.
Yes.
So.
Oh man. It's so I'm sorry. I don't know why that tickled me so much because it's goofy. Okay, so you were doing Facebook ads. So 30,000 is a lot. And Facebook pages the benefits of Facebook pages aren't the same as they used to be.
They're not. I know probably the consensus in the online marketing world today is to not focus on pages as much. I still think that I think there's still benefit though, because anything you post, it's free advertising, even if it's to a smaller number of people. So because they've changed their I don't know, their algorithm or whatever, so that the number of people who are seeing your posts today are not as many as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, people still see things, and so I think it's a mistake for that some people have made to choose to not develop that or not put much attention in that. But that's each individual person needs to make that decision for themselves. So yeah,
I think what Facebook has done recently, because I know like 6 months ago, a bunch of authors were like, no, they're not showing our pages to people like we were, like their engagement just went down overnight,
right, from
their pages. And so because Facebook was losing people, they were losing people's attention because it was just seeming like, like people weren't spending as much time on Facebook, and Facebook's like, we can't have that. We need people to be on here. That this is our business.
Right.
And so they're like, we're actually only we're going to share the posts that get the most engagement, not just posts that,
right.
Not just posts that are advertising, because people don't want to come on to Facebook and just be sold to the whole time.
Right.
So they actually want people to engage like it's social media and be social. And
how about that?
I know, it's craziness. So I do still think that Facebook is important. I like Facebook groups personally, but I like the Facebook pages because it makes it easier to run ads from a Facebook page than it is to a Facebook group, since they don't allow that.
Right.
So Facebook pages are important. Facebook groups are great. And the best way to use them, I think, is to really try and engage with people and pay attention and care. It does take more energy, but it's still free.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you the tip that I've heard this a long time ago, and I tell everybody this because it's kind of it's kind of a pet peeve. I hate it when people, whether it's on a personal page or a business page on Facebook, when all they're doing is pushing their product or whatever it is, that gets annoying to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rule that I've always tried to follow is, and you've heard this for probably other things before, but the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule in Facebook marketing is 80% of your posts should just be fun, mindless entertainment, and the 20% is your marketing stuff, and you get better engagement from that entertaining stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the more you're able to stay in front of somebody, the more likely they are to think about you. Whether it's books or another business that you're involved with, it just makes a lot of logical sense. You're keeping them in front of you, and so have fun with it.
Yeah, 80-20. You read Tim Ferriss, Ron?
I've heard of him. I don't know that.
What? Okay.
How
can you be an entrepreneur and not know Tim Ferriss? Okay. Yes. Okay.
I'm bad when it comes to reading business books. I guess I've done enough in the past that it's like, to me, everybody's saying the same things, and so.
Okay. I get it. You guys, if you want to be an entrepreneur like Ron, I do recommend reading Tim Ferriss. He's fun. He's kind of an asshole, but he does make you think differently. It's one of the books that transformed my life. Okay.
I will look into it.
You don't have to. You can look at, he has a blog, so you don't have to make that commitment. The blog is also very interesting. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's say, so what do you do? I'm winking at you, Ron, about, so what are some things that you think authors could do to be more successful in their marketing? Wink, wink.
Well, so for starters, I would stick with some of the basics that a lot of people will tell you, and that is definitely you got to write. Yeah, my uncle has actually seen some things decline in his career, and this was totally some life things that happened to him. His father passed away a year ago, my grandfather, and that took a big toll on him at that point and stuff. But he hasn't actually written anything for about a year, and that has definitely hurt his momentum that he's seen in his career. So that's probably like my number one absolutely keep writing. And I've seen the same thing with me. You know, maybe I'd be a little further along with some of what I've been doing had I just kept doing it. And so don't do what I did before and stop writing. Keep doing it. But
that's not what I was winking about, though. Go ahead.
I know you're. Yeah, I know where you're going. I'm just sharing something else, a lesson learned, I guess.
Okay,
So.
This is true. This is true, you guys. What he said is true. Wink. Now moving along.
So, yeah, I started a service for authors called App for Authors, and basically it's a platform to help authors to be able to build a mobile app. And so several months back, I was just thinking of ideas, and for whatever reason, the thought of a mobile app popped into my head, and I decided to go and see what other authors were doing. And I found that authors, for the most part, really aren't using mobile apps. And I think that's kind of interesting because everybody's using mobile apps. We all have mobile devices. So it kind of just became this no-brainer. Why in the world are authors not using mobile apps? So I went on this quest to figure out how to get my own app. And I reluctantly, it was not my plan to start a service that other authors can use, but I got everything all set up for myself, and I'm like, this is so easy. I can help other people do this. And so, yeah, it's been really fun to kind of see what some of my current clients have been putting together, and I definitely invite people to check it out and see if it's something.
I have some questions. So, because I'm not, I definitely use my phone, obviously, but I'm not like super hip. I used to be, but now I live in Idaho, and like rural Idaho, not like you. You guys, Ron only lives an hour and a half from me, which is the closest that anybody has ever been to me because I live really in the middle of nowhere. But I don't know what would an author, like, what does your mobile app do? Like, I have no idea.
So I have a couple of ideas of ways that you could use a mobile app.
Okay.
I certainly am not going to say that this is it. But so one of the things that I did, I actually put several of my books on my app for free that people can read. So I had previously listed all of my books in KDP Select, and I pulled some of them out so that I could do this. Mm-hmm. And I actually have an ad banner that runs. So you can go read my book for free in my app if you want. And there's a little ad banner that I can generate some revenue through. So that's one way that you could use that. Mobile apps also have the capability to send notifications. So if people download the app, and as long as, just like email, you have the option to turn those permissions off, but you would have the ability to notify people of new releases. So it could be something, maybe not to replace an email list, but something to complement it, to be mm-hmm. an additional resource that way. Mm-hmm. So those are a couple of the ways that are definitely something to consider for using a mobile app. Even to have one. So one of the things that my uncle and I have both done a little bit is provided like short stories or extra content at the end of a book that's free. And the goal would be to either get somebody on an email list or in this case to download an app. So that would be another way to deliver that content really easily.
Okay. So let's say this is me being, not savvy with mobile apps. As the reader, what is it that I'm getting from the story, those free stories?
Yeah,
via app.
That would be like the main the reason that somebody's going to want your app is because you're going to want to be providing some kind of free content in there. Just like with an email address, you collect emails by giving away a free book or a free sample or story or something. So yeah, just using it in the same manner. But like I said, providing or offering that as a way to deliver the content as well. So it's a little more convenient that way than, for example, to send somebody a PDF.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm getting my creative mind going. I'm like, my business mind is like, what could you do? So like, can you connect a mobile app? Can you notify people? How are some of the ways you can notify people if they've downloaded your app?
Well, if somebody downloads the app, there's just a section in the builder. So when you log into the account where you can go and send little messages, and it'll pop up a notification on the person's phone.
Okay.
So very, very similar to a text.
Okay. You get my mind going. I'm like, what kind of things would readers want? Like if you had like a secret blog.
Yeah.
That only people who subscribe to your newsletter or signed up for your mobile app.
Right.
You could do secret blog posts or a secret like Ilona Andrews. She writes a story. She writes a story like once a week. She does a chapter for a story that she just gives away for free. And then once the story is complete, she sells it on Amazon. But it's really fun. Like she and her husband, it's two people, but that's the kind of thing you could do on an app. So it's just another way of keeping in contact with I would think that, especially if your audience was younger, that would be a good way. Like if you're writing YA.
Right. Yeah. And I've actually dealt with some customers that were older than me. I'm in my early 40s. So they were older than me, and they had a really hard time understanding how they could really use that with their audience. And so that's definitely something to consider. If you are writing to an older audience, then a mobile app might be a little bit harder to justify.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but if you're writing to YA, I'm really curious. Can you do video via your mobile app somehow?
It does have a way to include video. It's not something that I've personally played around with very much in the builder, but I think it's just as easy as including like a YouTube link.
Okay,
and it can embed it into the app.
Not live video.
Maybe. I'd have to look into that for you.
Okay. I'm really curious because I think that would be an amazing thing to offer readers where you're like, hey, if you sign up to my mobile app, I go on occasion just for people with the app and give you behind the scenes as an author.
That's actually a very good idea.
I know. That's because this is what I do, Ron. We should talk later.
Well, like I said, I don't have the whole market on mobile apps and what you can use a mobile app for. I think that I'm excited to have other authors try the service and see what they come up with, because I think there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of potential with it. So
I think so too. I think so too. I think I'm like, ooh, not for everybody, because
not for everybody.
No, I can really, not for every author, because I know some people it's a real challenge, but for some of them it could be like the thing. Yeah. That is the easiest for them. Like maybe they have a hard time with Facebook. Maybe Twitter isn't their thing, but they're great, with something like this. And right. And I like that because not every author, I always tell people, I'm like, pick one social media thing, pick one and become really good at it. Don't try to spread yourself too thin over bunches of things, because then you don't give any one audience your real attention because you're spread too thin. But if you can do one really well, you'll get a lot more followers. So I think that's really interesting, especially if you write to YA, I think. Or younger audience. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have one author specifically that I'm thinking of that if she listens to us, she'll probably know. But okay. So thank you for sharing that. I'm really excited, and I do want to chat with you more, but not while we're recording, because I'm like, what I find interesting isn't always what everybody finds interesting. So can you tell us about how you stay motivated stay motivated to keep writing and be an author, like as part of your business?
So I think the biggest motivation, just with everything that I do, the biggest motivation has to be my family. I'm married. I've got 4 kids, ages 6 to 17, and taking care of my family is like that's the number one goal, and so everything I do is motivated because of that. It's just being able to take care of their needs and make sure they have a good life, so.
Yes, I do know. I call it the why, your why, and I think it's especially important to have when you're self-employed or an entrepreneur, because there isn't a boss saying you need to do this. Right. Or you're going to be fired, or you're not going to be paid. It's just you having to remember over and over. And I think that's very, very similar with writers, is because there's not somebody behind you saying, if you don't write, you're going to get in trouble. It just has to be you, and motivating yourself and having a powerful why, like I have to take care of my family or whatever it is. It might not be that for me. It's that I want to, my husband and I met later in life, and we want to have kids, and it costs money to get help to have kids.
Right.
So I'm like, that's a pretty powerful why. And there's definitely a time frame, because I'm in my late 30s. So that's, having a why, even if it's some ladies that I know, sorry, I'm babbling a little bit, but some ladies that I know that they have kids, they might be single moms, or they might just be moms, and they're like, or they have daughters. And there's no just moms, but you know what I mean? They want their kids to see them reaching for something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They want to set that example for their kids, so that they're, of reaching for their dreams and making it happen, so that they can do that for their kids, so their kids can have that same example. It's one thing to say to your kids, oh, yeah, you could do whatever you want, but then you go every day to a job that you don't like.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up, because just recently I was having a conversation with somebody who was pointing out the kinds of examples that our kids have just online and social media. Like, you look at politics and you look at the media and everything, and people don't always treat everybody right. And so being that example for your child and showing them, the way that you want to influence the world, and you want to be successful, and that they can do that too. I think it's just hugely important today.
I agree. I am with you, Ron. I'm with you on that. Okay. So what advice would you give to other authors who want to be successful?
I think, well, what we just talked about, you definitely have to have your why. But remember that even when you do, that doesn't eliminate all of the challenges and the struggle. And so you have to stay determined through all of that. You have to find a way to really, not be willing to quit. And on the flip side, I think you have to enjoy it to some extent too. If you're doing it just because it's a business opportunity, or just because it's a job, then I don't know, maybe that'll work for you, maybe it won't. But I think there has to be some balance between the two.
Mm-hmm. I think most writers enjoy it. If most people who always wanted to be a writer enjoy wanting to be a writer, it's the getting focused and being determined part that's harder. And tell me if you agree. I think oftentimes the things that are the scariest are that way, because they come straight from your heart, so they make you the most vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, you're putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, any author who's published a book knows how it feels to get a 1-star review. Oh yeah. And so yeah, there's that side of it, and
it's scary.
It is.
I've said this before on the show, but like when I first published my first book, I was like, I think I was having a panic attack. Like I think I was like, oh my gosh, I pressed publish. It's out there now. Strangers can read it. It's like, it is scary. But then when people respond well, it feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and fortunately, you I think because of how things work these days, we have the ability to go in and make corrections. And if you have a book that's getting a lot of bad reviews, then you can do something about that. You can go and correct the story if it needs some more editing or whatever, or you can pull it down if it's really doing bad. I mean, we have options that I think make it a little bit easier too. But push past the fears and just stay determined. And if it's something that you really want, then you can't let anything stop you from doing it.
That's a good thing to end on. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your latest book, a little bit about where people can find you, including the website for your app service?
So the latest book that I'm working on, or the latest book that people can get, the people can get,
or the best book.
So right now, because it's the one I'm working on, I would push my Outpost 37 series.
Okay.
It's available on Amazon, and the first one in the series is just a small short story meant to kind of grab the attention. And
what's it called?
It's called Outpost. So Outpost 37 is the series name, and the first one is called Fallout.
Okay.
And then the second one is an actual novella length in the series, and it's called Infected. And I'm currently working on part 3. So
with zombies with a twist.
Zombies with a twist. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So wait, Fallout, and this sounds kind of is it sci-fi zombies?
A little bit, maybe.
I'm like.
I mean, that's yeah. I've always been into kind of the sci-fi-ish genre, so it's hard for me to like put a single label on what genre do you write.
Right.
It's probably a mixture of a lot of things. So
yeah, don't worry, you're at home here. My husband and I are going through, I think since we've been married 5 years, and we're going through, I think, our 4th time watching The Next Generation. Like the whole, like now when the TV show starts, and I did not grow up watching Star Trek, actually. It's only been as an adult. But now when the episode starts, I'm like, oh, this is the one where oh, this is one with this. And I'm like, oh, this one has Alexander in it. I'm not going to watch this one. He's the most annoying character ever. Okay. And where can people find you for your app?
So for the service, you can just go to appforauthors.com.
Okay.
And I actually have a link that I can give you if people want to try it out completely for free, no credit card required or anything.
Yes.
But that I will have, that I couldn't give you over the phone here. So.
Okay. So what we can do is, you guys, if you go to the show notes, we'll have the information on how to access that on the show notes for this episode. Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here, Ron.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I had a lot of fun. So
yeah. And thank you, authors, for listening. Hugs and happy authoring here at Author Like a Boss. Hey, boss, you made it to the end of the episode. You're the best. Because of that, I'm going to give you a special invitation to find out more about the Author Boss Academy, where I and a bunch of really awesome authors hang out, have fun, and get stuff done. If you end up joining, tell me the secret word and you'll get a special bonus. Find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. The secret word is nipples. Hugs and happy authoring. I hope to see you soon.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.